Stocks close mixed on Wall Street. The Nasdaq snaps a 4-day losing streak, while the Dow Jones closes lower for the third straight day. Asian markets trade largely higher, while the Nifty is suggesting a mild positive start for the Indian market. Crude prices surge. Brent rises over 3% to $73 a barrel as Norway halts production at the key oil field. Escalation in a Russia-Ukraine war also aids the gains. Gold prices surge on a softer dollar and geopolitical concerns. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says that there is no cause for undue concern over economic growth, promises the government is committed to taking all necessary measures, also says interest rates will have to be far more affordable. Government is likely to discontinue the windfall gain tax imposed on crude oil. Sources say the Prime Minister's office has decided to end the levy after a review. Indian aviation hits a historic milestone. Over 3,100 planes take to the skies, carrying over 5 lakh passengers to domestic destinations, marking the first time that passenger numbers have crossed the 5 lakh mark in the country. Hello, good morning. You've tuned into CNBC TV 18 and you're watching Power Breakfast. I'm Vinny Motiwala. Let's look at what the Asian markets are doing. Seems like a bit of a positive start that we're seeing for the Asian markets this morning. Taiwan index is holding on to gains of around 0.5%. Hang Seng holding on to gains of around 0.6% as well. And other than that, when you're looking at the other Asian markets as well, so whether you look at an ASX 200, that's the Australian index holding on to gains of almost 1%, and Nikkei holding on to gains of almost 0.2% in trade, and Shanghai also holding on to gains of almost 0.2%. So positive start is what we're seeing coming in for the Asian markets. Let's pull up the GIFT Nifty and see what is that indicating. That also is indicating a positive start for the Indian markets, up 58 points as of now is what the GIFT Nifty is trading at. So yes, a positive start is what we're watching out for from the Indian markets today. We've seen that subduedness in the Nifty for a while now, 7 straight sessions that we've seen a decline, and today a bit of a positive start is what is indicated. But let's move on. And what happened in the US markets? Now, Wall Street ended mixed when you look at it, with Nasdaq snapping its 5-day streak of gain over 0.5%, led by gains in Tesla, and the S&P 500 rose 0.4%, while the Dow Jones ended just below the flat line. Now, EV maker Tesla shares surged on reports stating that the President-elect Donald Trump's team is working on easing regulations on self-driving vehicles. But all eyes are going to be and continuing to be and remain on Nvidia's earnings that are expected, that were expected overnight, and later this week is what we're watching out for these numbers. Now, the chipmaker shares have fallen over 5% in the past 5 trading sessions. So surely something that we are watching out for in terms of the US market. But JP Morgan's asset management chief market strategist believes that US equities have a good run and is expected to continue in the same way, provided investors consider some possibility of change in terms of policies that is going to affect the markets. Let's listen in to what more they have to say.
Very strong performance for U.S. equities. We do still think this is a good environment for risk. That includes equities, that includes corporate credit. I just think there are 2 important questions for us that investors are already paying attention to. Number one is we seem to be out of the cyclical storm, all the distortions from the pandemic. But now we're, in the short term, in a little bit of a policy fog environment. That can lead to some of a bit more choppy performance. So it's really all about the 3 S's. What's the scale, the scope, the sequencing of the policies of the new administration, and how do we counteract headwinds and tailwinds?
Okay, that's all the action that we have on the global market front. But how will all this overnight cues impact the Indian markets? We have a research team joining in with us to set you up for the trade in terms of trade setup. What are the stocks to watch out for, as well as the FNOQs? Good morning, Hormaz, as well as Sudarshan. And Hormaz, let me start with you. How are we looking at in terms of market cues? What is the trade setup looking like for today?
Trade setup comes up with some bit of hope for the bulls, and it came out in yesterday's session as well. Although it was the 7th straight day of losses for the Nifty, although the index closed below the 200-day moving average as well, but it has closed off the lows of the day, and that was the big takeaway. And despite the sell-off, the bulls managed to hold on to some bit of lower levels around the 23,350 mark. Then it was a tug of war, right? It was the Nifty Bank that was supporting the index from any further downside, but the IT index was pulling the index lower. And if you pull out the contributors chart as well, you would see stocks like HDFC Bank, SBI batting for the bulls, but Infosys, TCS, Reliance Industries, all of them contributing to the downside. But then most of them recovered from the lows of the day, and that contributed to that 100-point recovery that the Nifty had towards the close of the session. So what next now for the index? Of course, a close above the 200 DMA is essential to instill further confidence in the bulls, and 23,350 on the downside, which is yesterday's low, will be a key level to watch out for. For the Nifty Bank as well, it was HDFC Bank that ensured that the 50,000 level is protected on the downside in yesterday's trading session, so that remains a key to watch out for. But of course, we are heading into a midweek holiday. It is the polling that takes place in Maharashtra tomorrow, so we'll watch out for trading volumes might remain thin today. We'll watch out for any potential moves in metal names that were another key contributors to the upside in yesterday's session. Let's see if there is any further selling pressure in Honasa Consumer. That was a 20% circuit yesterday, and the city gas players as well that were trading lower in yesterday's trading session. Of course, the action is now again become stock specific now that the earnings season is over, and of course the important thing to watch out for is any further recovery, whether it gets sold into or not, and the template remains a sell on rise for the market. But for now, the Wall Street handover is fairly positive, and the GIFT Nifty too is indicating a positive start for our own markets.
Okay, GIFT Nifty is indicating a positive start for our own markets, but which are the important stocks that we are keeping on our radar today? Jim, our airports, that's the one we're watching out for. We have a business update coming in for the month of October. The October passenger traffic has gone up by 9% on a year-on-year basis, month-on-month basis. Also, there is an increase of 5%. Domestic passenger traffic up 9.2%, international passenger traffic up 9.2% as well, and air traffic movement is also up almost 9%. This is all that we're comparing on a year-on-year basis. Moving on, Shilpa Medicare, its arm Shilpa Pharma Life Sciences has gotten a certificate of suitability from the European Drug Authority, and this is for an API that is called octreoid, and this is used for the treatment of increasing the treatment of high level of growth hormones caused by some particular concern. So yes, on the back of that, Shilpa Medicare could be in focus. ITI, they bagged a contract worth around 95 crores for mining digital transformation and surveillance systems in Uttarakhand, so keep an eye on that. Where PG Electroplast, that's in focus. Its arm has signed a definitive agreement with Spiro Mobility for manufacturing EVs for Spiro India, so keep an eye on that one. Med Plus Health is in focus after there was a big block deal that took place yesterday. Now we have the seller PI Opportunities, that's Premji Invest Fund, that has actually sold 5.77% stake in the company, and they've completely exited. And other than that, we have SBI Mutual Fund also that has sold some part of their stake, 0.84%. So keep an eye out on MedPlus Health today as well. We also have AstraZeneca Pharma that's in focus. They've received an approval from the DCGI, and this is for an inhalation preparation drug. This they're planning to launch in 2025. So keep an eye out on all these stocks today. But let's move on and finally get in what are the cues in the world of F&O. How is that going to be shaping up today? Sudarshan is going to take us through all those details. Sudarshan, good morning.
Good morning, Vinny. So first thing first, Sensex and Nifty have closed lower on Monday for 7th straight day, and it's the longest losing streak that we've seen almost in 2 years, that is since February of 2023. But if you look at the last 7 days move, a similar kind of pattern has been found. First, opening with minor gains, then going into the red, then again make intraday recovery, and at the end closing in the red. For today, GIFT Nifty is indicating a start with minor gains. As far as flows are concerned, FIs continue to sell. Yesterday, we saw FIs selling more than rupees 1,400 crore, but in a single day, it's the lowest sell figure that we have seen if you exclude Diwali days of 2 days, Dhanteras and the Muhurat trading day. In the last 35 days, FI have sold more than rupees 1.5 lakh crore. In the index futures, though, FIs have bought more than rupees 350 crore. At the same time, they've added long contracts of more than almost 5,000 and also added short contracts of more than 1,300. With this, long exposure by FIs now stand at 24%, and on the client side, long exposure has increased to 68.5%. On the option front, 23,500 call has seen addition of almost 36 lakh shares, 23,700 call has seen addition of more than 32 lakh shares. And on the put side, 23,400 put has seen addition of more than 23 lakh shares, and 23,300 put has seen addition of more than 18 lakh shares. Important levels for Nifty, support is now seen somewhere around 23,360 to 23,400, and resistance is now at 23,550. Lastly, stocks that might be in focus, keep an eye on city gas companies. We'll have to see if they see follow-on selling.
Okay, Sudarshan, thank you so much for that. But with that, we're going to step into a very short break. But don't go anywhere, because after the break, we'll get you excerpts from the Finance Minister's address at the SBI Conclave. Stay tuned in to listen to her comments on inflation and growth. Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Now, the government is likely to discontinue windfall gain taxes, and sources have told CNBC TV 18 that the Prime Minister's office has asked Petroleum and Revenue Departments to finalize the contours to the issue the relevant notifications to discontinue the levy. Timsi Jaipuria is joining in with us to give us more details on that. Timsi, take us through the rationale of the government behind this decision. What is it that we are expecting here now?
Well, after almost over 2 years of existence, the windfall gains tax levy could soon come to an end. That's what sources are indicating to CNBC TV 18. What we are picking up is that the government at the top has decided to discontinue with this levy, and a formal notification for the discontinuation of windfall gains tax levy could come soon as by end of December or middle of December. Sources indicate that the Prime Minister's office has asked Petroleum Department and Revenue Department to finalize the contours to issue a relevant notification to discontinue this levy. Remember, this levy, that is the windfall gains tax, was levied from 1st of July 2022. And some of the reasons behind this discontinuation is that the average crude price was not yielding much taxes. The industry was unhappy with the levy, and the levy was having an impact on the production levels, and thus the country now wants to enhance its production levels of crude oil, because of which this discontinuation decision has been taken. Let's see how soon a formal notification is issued. Where are we actually in terms of the total collections? All of this are likely to coming in together with the announcement of discontinuation, which could be as soon as within December itself. Let's see, as and when it comes, we'll keep you updated. Back to you.
Thank you so much for that, Timsi. But let's move on to the big newsmaker from last evening. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman played down concerns over a potential slowdown in the economic growth. Speaking at the annual SBI Conclave in Mumbai, she said that there is no reason for undue concern and India remains in a strong position. Finance Minister also believes that we need more conversations to discuss the inflation and interest rate dynamics. Listen in.
Let me assure you that the government is fully aware of the challenges posed by both domestic and global factors. There is no cause for undue concern. India's economy remains resilient, underpinned by strong macroeconomic fundamentals. FDI inflows have demonstrated healthy growth in FY25. Reinforcing global confidence in India's economic potential. Our foreign exchange reserves comfortably cover 11.8 months of imports and exceed 100% of external debt, underlining the strong net buffer in the Indian economy. The government is closely monitoring an evolving situation. We remain committed to taking all necessary measures to ensure that India remains fully and firmly on course to become the third largest economy in the world.
How concerned are you about inflation? And what is the view as far as interest rates are concerned? Do you expect a cut anytime soon, or do you believe on account of where inflation is at this point in time, the cut perhaps is going to be further pushed out?
You know, this is a question which I'm sure every journalist would love to ask. And Shireen leads the bandwagon. I respect her for asking me this question. I will certainly try to give an answer. Global markets don't go by your demand and supply ups and downs. They want a consistent flow of pulses to come into India. So complex issues, but very much affecting the common man. So inflation gets actually very, very volatile because of the supply-demand constraints. Equally, I think what is important is when you look at India's growth requirements, and you can have so many different voices coming out and saying the cost of borrowing is really very stressful. And at a time when we want industries to ramp up and move building capacities, bank interest rates will have to be far more affordable. So I'm putting as much what Shireen asked me as a reply back to you, saying these are our requirements if we have to make Vikasit Bharat not just an aspiration but as a reality. So we need to have a lot more conversation on this, and I would stop at that.
Okay, and on that note, we're going to step into a very short break, but don't go anywhere. After the break, we'll talk about what's happening in the world of commodities. Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. And like promised, we do have Manisha Gupta joining in with us to tell us what's happening in the world of commodities. Good morning, Manisha.
Morning, and thank you for that. Well, you know, it has been a rebound in many of these commodities. I'll start with metals first because the smartest of gains have come in for this one. Remember, the US dollar index gained up by 1.6% in the previous week, but that rally seems to have taken a pause right now, and that is supportive. So when you look at the steel rebar prices, they gained up by 3% overnight. Copper, aluminum have been in favor in any case. We've seen both of these metals also gain up by more than 1.5%. Even the precious metal prices have seen gains. Silver gained up by 3% overnight, and gold prices, after declining 6% since the U.S. presidential elections, also are now trading back above $2,600 an ounce. So we are looking at gains coming in across all of these. What the street is waiting for right now is further events to come in from China. You have the LPR decision happening in this week, and then it also is about Powell testimony that would happen in this week. Is the reason you have the crude oil prices also seeing some support. We have seen a 3% of surge come in for crude prices also overnight. So the New York session has been good, and the Asia market right now today morning has been supportive of these gains.
Okay, Manisha, thank you so much for that update coming in the world of commodities. But let's move on to some news on the national front. Now, this is from Manipur, where violence has escalated once again. Police have said that the protesters was killed in a firing after clashes between forces and protesters who were vandalizing properties. The mob was protesting at the killing of a woman and children abducted by militants. Manipur Chief Minister Byron Seng called an urgent meeting of the MLAs to take stock of the law and order situation in the state. However, the meeting saw several significant absences, with only 24 of the 45 sitting MLAs showing up. Meanwhile, an update coming in on the air quality in Delhi and Noida, Ghaziabad as well as Gurugram reached alarmingly high levels, with most AQI stations touching the 500 mark even today morning. While the Union Health Secretary issued an updated advisory on a Monday to states and union territories regarding the air pollution, Delhi University has decided to shift to online classes till November 23rd. Jawaharlal Nehru University till November 22nd will be moving on to online classes as well. Okay, and with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Thank you so much for tuning in. Morning Call up next.